I don't know if I would be sitting here talking to you without running. Through running, prayer, and therapy. That's why I made it through.
Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Weta L. Brown. I inspire and promote movement. I explain how running adds to life from a mental wholeness aspect, how obstacles can be overcome in life to make it to your finish line. Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy, episode 45. Today is a very special day. It's my anniversary. I think about Tony. Do you know what today is? It's my anniversary. 1 year ago today, I launched Running is Cheaper Than Therapy. The day is also significant in that it is the day that my mother passed away with breast cancer, October 27th, 2008. I'll never forget that day, the moment I watched her breathe her last breath. I decided to launch the podcast as a way to celebrate her memory, and that she inspired me to be the woman I am today. She is the inspiration for me starting to run, and where I got the idea for the book as well as the podcast. So today I honor Mae Robinson Brown, and I have a very special episode today. I thought about doing a solo episode, but I wanted to feature a guest, and this guest is significant in that we both share a love of running. We both went to FAMU, the best college in the world. And we both started running after a family member passed. For me, it was my mother. For him, it was his oldest brother. He gained weight and he's developed a significant love of running following the death of his brother. Following the death of his brother, he started to love running. I'm trying to talk him into doing triathlons, but he won't budge. So this is my vow to you listeners. If you go to his social media and send him a message and try to encourage him to join me and the rest of my Rattler crew who are doing triathlons, he'll hate me. And after he listens to this, he'll want to come kill me back. Maybe it would convince him to join the dark side. Anyway, I thought it was fitting to present him because we share that common bond. And I just want to say thank you all for listening. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for all my guests for allowing me space to share your stories. I feel like I've get to know each person in a very special way. By talking to them 30 minutes to an hour, I feel like they share with me and they share with all my listeners. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. So let me tell you a little bit more about my guest. Reggie, or Reginald Smith, has always been a runner. He is a Navy veteran. Again, after the death of his oldest brother, he gained a significant amount of weight and he rediscovered the love of running. Over the years, he's increased his distance as well as his overall knowledge of running. Moreover, Reggie has a love of Black history and he seeks to represent Black stories while running. He'll tell us a little bit more about that. This love led to the start of a t-shirt design business that has done well. He actually designed my t-shirt for my last marathon, New York Marathon. Reggie is also the proud father of 2 daughters, and again, he is a proud alumni of Florida Agriculture and Mechanical University. Welcome, Reggie, or Reginald Smith, to the show. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So let's just get started. I know you ran in the Navy, but did you run as a child?
Kind of, sort of. I was not on the track team, but ROTC was my favorite high school subject.
Oh,
So,
really? Okay.
right. So, high school class, rather. So, we had to do PT tests as part of the class. So, in order to prep that, we used to run around the neighborhood. Some of my friends and I, we used to do that. And then when I joined the Navy directly after high school. So, to get ready for boot camp, we would run around the neighborhood, different distances and things. I can't really say that I was as serious about the running back then. I was just mainly running just to pass the PT test or, to pass weight standards. I didn't really have the knowledge, as far as how to actually run a race, all the dieting, the strategies, things of that nature.
Did you enjoy it then, or was it just kind of to pass your PT test?
I mean, I kind of enjoyed it, especially when we were running with friends, especially when you join the Navy and you have a large group of people and everybody's running on beat. Well, usually we run on the left foot and, everybody's singing cadence. We're like,
Cadence,
left foot,
yeah.
good foot. Yeah, like that. You have a large group of people and everybody's singing and there's a lot of camaraderie in it. So sometimes, yes, it was enjoyable. Sure.
Did you participate in any other sports growing up?
I didn't really participate in high school athletics. I was mainly just academics and ROTC.
And you said you started, I guess, a love of running after your oldest brother passed away. Sorry for your loss.
Thank you for that. Yeah, my oldest brother, unfortunately, we lost him to gun violence. He was 34. This was 2001. I ballooned up to right at 300 pounds. But I was active duty Navy. And of course, Navy has height and weight standards that you have to maintain. Of course, they'll give you counseling or whatever for anything that you may be dealing with emotionally, but you still have to meet those standards. That's when I, really started to run. But at the time, probably I would say the farthest distance that I ran was probably about 5 miles. I couldn't see myself running a marathon or even a half marathon. Once again, the Navy's PT test was a mile and a half. So I figured, if I can run 5 miles at a good clip, the mile and a half would be easy. I had no issues. Even when I had gained all the weight, I still had no issues with passing the PT test.
What's the time for the 1.5 mile?
It just depends on your gender and your age.
Okay.
But I never had any problem passing it, but I was still out of weight standards. So because I was out of weight standards, then I was put on what we affectionately call the Fat Boy program.
What is it called?
The Fat Boy program. Got back in weight standards, and then I didn't have to go to the PT class anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had that in common. I started running after my mother passed away. I gained a lot of weight. I'm an emotional eater. So I gained like 20 pounds, and I just started running to lose weight, and I developed this love of it. It helped my mood and spirit. It was like part of therapy. So we have that in common. So what was the difference for you as far as running after your brother passed away than running before when you were just running for your PT test?
I would say it was a time of solace and prayer. Like my brother died like really, really young. And he was on, like I said, he was only 34, and it was really unexpected. I actually had just flown. I was stationed at, the former National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda. I was stationed there, and my next duty station was in Okinawa, Japan. I had flown to Japan. I was in Okinawa for, I want to say, about 3 or 4 days. It took me about 3 or 4 days to get internet connection established. And when I got my internet connection established, if you remember the old Yahoo Messenger, everybody used to send
you got mail. Yeah,
exactly. So I set up by get internet access, log on to Yahoo, and I was expecting, messages from my family, of course. Hey, how you doing? So on and so forth. Actually, my sister-in-law, she told me that my brother had passed. So I had only been on Okinawa for maybe 4 or 5 days. So I had to I tell my boss, I had to turn around and fly back to the States or with my family, with my brother's funeral. And then I think I stayed maybe 10 days or so in the States, going back home, South Carolina, to deal with all that. And then we had to fly back to Okinawa again. Over the years, just dealing with various issues, just always been my place of solitude, a place I can think, place where I could pray. Nobody, now I have my Apple Watch, and people can call you, but before the Apple Watch developed, you go out and run.
It's just you
nobody,
and
nature. Yeah, it's just you and nature out there. Unless you carry your phone, but I'm not one that really likes to carry my phone in my hand unless I have to. And then when I moved back into the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, then that's when I connected with Black Men Run.
Mm-hmm.
And the DC area brothers, here's a lot of brothers in the Black Men Run chapter here. They're either active duty or they're retired or retired military, or they have previous military service. Because I didn't know about the various races, and of course I was familiar with the distances, but I wasn't aware of the whole running community. So
Okay.
I would say that was my first introductions, and then that's when I really started to learn about running and how to run the different distances.
What was your first distance race? What was your first half marathon or 10-miler?
Well, I would say my first 10-miler was the Army 10-miler. In my opinion, the Army 10-miler, it's still very popular, but it's not as popular as it was when I first started running around about 2009, 2010. It's not as popular as it was, but it's still a very popular race. And I just remember the race being packed and all these people, training for it.
So how did you train?
I didn't even really know what a training plan was. I knew what the race date was. So I just said, okay, by this date, I want to have run this number of miles. And by this date, I want to run this number of miles. Now, I was smart enough to figure out about tapering. Of course, you didn't want 13, 15 miles the day before the race. So I knew about, I was smart enough to figure that out. But I just kind of made a training plan on my own.
Okay.
And then my first half marathon was the Air Force half marathon. That's in DC as well. I think that race went away in 2016, so they don't have it anymore.
Okay. So how long between your first 10-miler and your first half marathon? Was it the same year?
Not the same year. I think it was a year later.
What was your first marathon?
My first marathon was the Marine Corps marathon.
Okay. I like that race.
So yeah, it was all the military races.
So how many half marathons have you done? Do you know?
Stop keeping count.
So over what, 20, 30?
I would say definitely over 30. Definitely over 30, because like for a half marathon, I would probably run at least for a year, a half marathon. The 10-mile distance is actually my favorite distance.
Mine too.
Yeah, it's long enough to challenge you, but then again, it's short enough. It's long enough, but it's short enough. But for whatever reason, 10-mile races are kind of hard to find.
In Philly, they have the Broad Street, and that was my first long distance race. And it was just big, and then we always had like a little get together afterwards. So it was, I don't know, a significant race for me. And then I think was it Cherry Blossom or something?
Yeah, Cherry Blossom 10-miler. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are two very good races.
Yeah, it's usually in May, but
in May, right?
Yeah, they moved it. So, how many marathons have you done?
Well, not counting virtual marathons, in-person marathons, I think I'm up to about 20 now.
Wow. What's your favorite, or do you have one?
My favorite marathon so far, I would definitely say is New York City Marathon.
Wow.
I guess it's the energy from the city. The New York City Marathon is a marathon about the people of New York. That's what it's really about. And when they advertise it as 26.2 mile block party, that's not an exaggeration. And because, it really is. The whole city comes out, people cheer for you. Not saying that other cities don't come out. I just ran a marathon in Minneapolis back on the 3rd of this month. It was great support at the Twin Cities Marathon there. It was a great race. I enjoyed it. But nobody comes out like New York. It's not an easy course.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
It is definitely not an easy course.
And bridges.
Right, exactly. First time I ran it, once again, I was still, I guess, kind of quote unquote green. The first time I ran it back in 2016, it was the first time I ever broke 4 hours on a marathon. Like all the people were like, "Oh, you came on the floor on the world major." I'm like, "I came on the floor on a what?" you know,
Yeah.
'cause
You didn't know about the world majors?
I had no clue about the world majors at the time. But I was really proud that I came in, under four on that course. And really, my whole goal was to get my name in the newspaper.
My name wasn't in the newspaper, yeah.
But that's all I wanted. I wanted my name in New York Times. That's all I wanted.
What's on your bucket list as far as running?
I want to finish up my world majors.
Which ones do you have left?
Berlin and Boston. I have those two left. My ultimate goal is to get a New York qualifying time. Now, a lot of people talk about the Boston qualifying time, but my goal is to get a New York qualifying.
New York is harder than Boston as far as the time qualification, isn't it?
Right. But if you qualify, get the New York qualifying time, you qualify on time for New York, Boston, and Chicago. You qualify for all three. Like for my age and gender, the New York qualifying time is 3:14, and the Boston qualifying time is 3:25.
Okay.
That's a lot of time.
It is, especially when you're that fast. Yeah.
That's a lot of time. But I figured if I set my training for the New York qualifying time, even if I don't make that New York qualifying time, I think I still should be good for Boston.
So when you train now, do you follow a plan? Do you have a coach? Like, what's your method?
Now I have a coach. Yeah, I definitely have a coach. He sends me on workouts, and he follows me, of course, on the Garmin app, monitors my progress, and we talk about strategies for the race and strategies even for training. Other topics for us, diet, shoes, various topics.
How'd you find him?
Another runner, Philip King, he was his coach.
So how many days a week do you run?
6 days a week. The biggest areas is injuries, because I missed, before COVID hit, the New York City Marathon. I was supposed to run New York City Marathon 2019, but I fractured my toe. I healed up in time to run, but it was only like a month, and I didn't really want to struggle. But I guess if I had known COVID was coming next year, I probably would went ahead and struggled. I think that's been a big help. That's my coach has been a big help. His training plan has helped me stay away from injury. As you age, that's one of the biggest things. Is to stay away from injuries. Stretch the different runs in your training plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's highly important.
It is
because you just don't bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
And it just delays your progress.
And it takes a while to get back to where you were before.
Exactly.
What's your most significant injury you had over the years?
My most significant injury, probably my fractured toe on my right. After I fractured toes twice on my right foot.
How long were you out?
About a month each time, and I was in a walking boot. The second one was particularly frustrating because I underestimated some shoes. I run in Hokas, and I really like the Hoka Rincons. For me, a guy my size, my weight, I wouldn't recommend, myself personally, I probably shouldn't have went above maybe like 15 miles.
Mm-hmm.
But one day I went out and I ran, and I just did 18 miles before, and I went out and I ran the very next day, do a recovery run, got out 2 miles, and my foot just started hurting. I tried to push. My foot was like, no, you're not going to push today. And it was hot.
Mm-hmm.
it was hot. And actually, I wish I would have had my phone, because I would have called a Lyft or an Uber or something to come take me back home. But I had to hobble 2 miles back home in the heat, and it was hot that day. And then I went to see the doctor the next day, and sure enough,
fracture.
It was a very small fracture, but it was definitely painful. And I think that 18 miles in those Rincons, that's what
did it.
That's what did it. I would recommend the Rincons for anybody. It's just I think I did too high of a mileage for me for that shoe.
Okay. So you mentioned before you and 3 of your frat brothers just ran the Twin City Marathon.
Right.
And one, Melvin Carter, who happens to be the mayor of St. Paul, Minnesota. Who came up with the idea to run the marathon?
Actually, my namesake, Reginald Harrison, he came up with the idea, and he called myself, my line brother, and Melvin, I think he called us first because he know that we all run with the idea around April. Then we asked around, and it was a great time. Yeah, I'm still on the high from it. 25, 26 years later, we be running a marathon together. Like, we're going to do projects. We might go to each other's weddings, might see each other's kids graduate, or, maybe even do business. But I would have never guessed that we would have run marathon together. So it was real special for us.
I love the fact that so many of my family classmates are running, doing triathlons, trying to live and promote a healthy lifestyle.
Oh, yes, it's important, health as well.
It is.
And it really is. And it does translate to real dollars. If you don't have certain diagnoses like diabetes, and that's why you don't have to spend on insulin.
Mm-hmm. High blood pressure.
Or high blood pressure or cholesterol. It's money that you don't have to spend on those type of medicines. A lot of people look at me and they say, "Oh, I can't run a marathon. That's just too much." And I tell them all the time that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or they look at me, "Oh, I just ran, a 5K." I say, "No.
That's good.
I'm like that's fantastic. Don't discredit your distance.
Yes.
And being former athlete, I think sometimes people until they like really look at me in my face and see that I'm serious about it. And I tell them all the time, if you run a 5K, you ran 3.1 miles. Okay. The United States Marine Corps, when the Marines, when they do their physical fitness test for the Marines, they run only 3 miles. So technically, you have actually ran a longer distance than the Marines. You're doing what the Marines do to test their fit. So, underestimate or try to devalue your distance. It's that 3.1 miles is a 5K is a 5K for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reason that the Marine Corps does their PT test on the 3 miles, because it tests your endurance and your cardiovascular and your strength. Mm-hmm. So just keep running, and over time you're going to see those times decrease. You will get faster, and then once you see those times decrease, you're going to see, your dress size decrease. You're going to see, your pant size, your waist size decrease as you get into better shape. I tell people all the time, don't try to discredit. And another thing that I tell people is, find something that you like to do. I mean, you see me run all the time because this is what I like doing. Mm-hmm. Now, you might like to do something else, like you might biking, or whether it's swimming, or you could I guess you could do biking, swimming, and running if you like a triathlete.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And as we age, I think running and doing things that you love can help you look young and keep you away from those chronic diseases. Like we're talking about diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, heart disease. Cause I know when I was growing up, my mom had like a host of medicine. She passed away with breast cancer, but she had a lot of other medical issues, and she used to go around with this bag, and I used to call it her walk-in pharmacy. And I said, when I get old or older, I don't want to take all these medicines. So it's like, that's part of the reason is like, I love this stuff too, and I'm a little extreme, but I don't want to take medicines for high blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol. I take vitamins and things like that, but I don't have to take any of these chronic medicines, and I don't ever want to. But if my doctor did prescribe them, I would take them, because I know a lot of people don't take their medicine. You should take them until you get better. You should take them until you get to the point. Sometimes you can't get to the point where you don't need them. But I know when you said when you run, you love to represent Black stories while running. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, it was actually New York City Marathon 2017, and I wanted to do something to commemorate an area of New York called Seneca Village. And Seneca Village was an area of what is now Central Park. It was comprised mostly Black people that were former slaves, but there were also some Dutch immigrants that were there as well. What happened? They basically took over the area by eminent domain. They started off with putting out bad press about Seneca Village in the newspaper. A lot of I guess, undesirables lived there. And, there was a lot of suspected illegal activities and, the place should be torn down. They started doing that through the newspaper. When they wanted to take the area over by eminent domain, they didn't offer the owners of the property there the full property value. Through court records and things, now they know that some of the people were actually taken and, and forced off their property. So basically it was either, okay, you either take this little bit of money and get off your property, or we're going to come and take you and throw you off your property. Or one way or the other, you getting off this property. So they did that. They took it over, and that's where Central Park was built. Now too, they did some excavations, and they have found the areas where it used to be, and they found some remnants, some buildings, and different household items and things. In a nutshell, it's that they took over this town and of black people, and they didn't adequately compensate. Compensate us for this. This Seneca Village story, like if you search all across the country,
it's happened a lot of places. Tulsa, same happened in Tulsa. Yep.
It's the same story, the same process of taking land from African Americans, not adequately compensating them, and then taking it over and then building something else out of that. So I just took everything that I learned and I just put it in a design for a singlet to race in. Now, of course, I'm not the first person ever to use a racing t-shirt to send a message, but I really wanted to, my whole sole purpose was to bring out Black stories and have people awareness of what's happened. And when I ran the New York City Marathon there in 2017, I was actually hurt. So I couldn't run as fast as I could. But it actually turned out to getting the word out about Seneca Village. It actually worked out pretty good, because I remember it was a white man, and he saw my singlet. He was like, "Woo, Seneca Village. That's what I'm talking about." And he jumped out. He grabbed my hand. He actually scared me. I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, all right, Seneca Village, yeah. And then, I went a long way. I think I was in Brooklyn, and another brother, he saw Seneca Village. He was like real proud. He was like, yeah, man, that's how you represent for the people right there. That's how you represent right there, brother, man. I love that right there. And, I saw another man, he read it, and then I saw him lip. He did like Seneca Village, and I could see it. I mean, I can't read lips professionally, but I could see that he saw my shirt, and he actually pulled out his phone. So I'm guessing that he looked up Seneca Village on his phone. And so that's to figure out, what is this Seneca Village? What is Seneca Village, New York? So I think it was good, and it's been well received. And I've done the same process with other projects that, I've done personally and for other people. So represent us, make people aware of some of our stories. Yeah.
Season 3, we will continue the new segment called Ask the Doc. If you have any questions related to musculoskeletal injuries or musculoskeletal health, go to my website, www.weoulifelife.com. Click on the tab Voicemail, leave your voicemail, and select Messages will be aired and answered on the segment. Now, back to the show. Part of my podcast is to feature guests who've overcome obstacles to make it to their finish line. Can you tell me about an obstacle that you face, whether it be running, life, relationship?
Oh, wow. I would probably say the biggest obstacle when I was going through my divorce back in 2016, I was like really depressed. I don't know if I would be sitting here talking to you without running. Yeah, I really can't say that I would. I would. It was definitely a life-changing experience. I mean, for me, I just pray and ask God for clarity on a lot of different things. So
Yeah.
I was just going through that. I was in counseling for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Probably need to go back to counseling, to be honest. So, I think through running, prayer, and therapy, that's why I made it through. And I'm in a good place now.
Were you at all apprehensive about seeking professional help? I know when I was going through depression, I was apprehensive, and I'm in the medical field. One of my friends, he kind of pointed out, like, if someone came to me with a broken bone, would I tell them to fix it? And he was like, why are you trying to fix yourself? And after he said that, it kind of like, why am I? So I got professional help. And like, my book is called Running is Cheaper Than Therapy, but it's kind of like, because I went through therapy and running is cheaper, but not saying that running is in place of therapy, but it was an addition to the therapy.
I was kind of apprehensive about it, but it was something I knew that I needed to do. It was like something I'm broadcasting. Hey, I'm going to therapy, but, but like I said earlier, I probably need to go back and do some more therapy.
I think it's good to have, like, it's called maintenance therapy, or one of my guests, he calls it mental wealth. It's like you're okay, but you kind of like just need to check in with somebody.
I definitely don't discredit therapy.
So if an adult Reggie could go back and talk to a younger version of yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
I would probably say 2 words.
What's that?
Dude, relax. Yes, for real. Because I was so serious about everything. My plan was going to the Navy, get an NROTC scholarship, graduate, get my commission, serve my time, and then after my time, I actually just planned to get out and then just go back to civilian life. And then if I did not get picked up get an NROTC scholarship, then at the time the Navy had 2 funds. They had a Navy College Fund,
mm-hmm.
and they had the GI Bill.
Okay.
And most states will give you in-state tuition. So I knew that even if I didn't get picked up, I could finish my time from enlisted, get out, and then go back to school after and, still get my degree. So one way or the other, I was getting my degree paid for, but mm-hmm. I preferred to get the NROTC scholarship because I also wanted the college life. If I didn't get picked up for the NROTC program, I would have went back to college at maybe like 24, 25, maybe even 26. Mm-hmm. So, you're kind of older. Whereas I went back to college, started college. I was 21 when I started college.
Really?
But I was.
I didn't know you were. I didn't even know you were older.
Yeah, I was 21. See, but that's the thing because there really wasn't a whole lot of difference between myself,
like 17 or whatever.
Yeah, people like 17 and 18 that are coming into college. Everybody's really kind of the same cohort. Even though I was 3 years older, you still are, part of the same cohort. So yeah, I wanted the college experience. I didn't want to be the old man at the college party. Like what is this dude doing here? Yeah, I didn't want to do that. So yeah, I wanted the college experience too. That's part of the reason why I didn't go to the Naval Academy, because you got to do all this extra stuff. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to enjoy college.
And you did that. You did that. But you stressed yourself out in the process, basically.
When I was enlisted in the Navy, I made sure that, I was always on top of everything. When I was on top of everything, shoes shine, whatever we had to do, I made sure my stuff was done early. When I got to FAM, my first couple of years at FAM, I went to the parties or whatever, but everything was always booked first.
How can I convince you to come to the dark side and do triathlons?
How can you convince me?
Yes.
Me with triathlons, I don't really see. Like we said earlier, you do what you like. I don't really like cycling, and I really
have you tried? I mean, have you?
I have a bicycle that's sitting in my room right now that I ride maybe twice a year. So I'm not going to close the door on it.
I did a duathlon first, and then I realized I could run and swim. Putting them together is a little bit more challenging. While I was learning how to swim.
Okay. Okay. And that's probably one of I mean, I'm not a triathlete, but I'm just guessing that's probably one of the biggest barriers that we as African Americans have to, get into the sport of the triathlon is probably learning how to swim.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. And some the biking too. It depends on. It's just expensive. The bike is the most expensive part too. If you want to, either a high end road bike or a tri bike, they're expensive. And then if you get into all the extra bells and whistles, it can cost you. But it's so addictive. I mean, after you start cycling, I don't know. It's really addictive.
Well, like I said, I'm definitely not going to rule it out and never say never, because once you say never, that's always the thing that you end up doing. Once you say, "Well, I'm never going to do," then you'll be right there doing it.
Any last minute words of advice for my listeners regarding running or anything else?
Select shoes for you. I think that the shoes are critical, and shoes as a total personal thing. Like, I like Hokas, but I know people who don't like Hokas. Hokas don't work for them.
Don't work for me.
I myself, I can't run in Brooks. I've tried to run in Brooks 3 times, but I know plenty of people who run in Brooks. They swear by Brooks every day. But so it's an individual thing. Get proper shoes, and then also stretch. Best that you stretch before and after you run, but at least stretch. Do some dynamic stretching, static stretching, before you go out and run, because that helps to prevent injuries as well. Proper shoes, go to a running store, get fitted,
and then make sure you replace them. Don't have them for 5 years.
Right, exactly. Exactly. You have like 5 years. You got 5,000 miles on a pair of shoes. You need. Myself personally, I always keep at least most often I keep 3 pairs of shoes, and rotate them. And then if you want to, just another little tip. If you want to, keep your feet from becoming infected, I would also, when you come in, pull the soles out of your shoes and spray them down with Lysol. Yeah, that's gonna help a lot.
So where can my listeners find you?
They can find me on Instagram at runreg13 at RUNREG13, or runreg designs, RUNREG designs, DESIGNS.
Okay. And last question, what's your next big race?
My next big race is, you guessed it, New York. November 7th. Yeah, November 7th. So it'll be my first New York City Marathon since 2018. And, I'm excited about it.
So how many times have you done it? 3? It'll be a third?
This is my 4th one.
4th. Okay. Well, thank you again for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a blast. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
That wraps up this episode of Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you already haven't, please download Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast on Apple, Spotify, or however you listen to your favorite podcast. If you have any questions, concerns, or possible show topics, please email runningischeaperthan.therapy, OLB, Omaha Love Brown. Again, that's runningischeaperthan.therapy, Omaha Love Brown @gmail.com. I also can be reached via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Handle We Life, We Love. OUI Life, OUI Love. Thank you, and please tune in again.